Hello guys, how is everybody? How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. If you're not doing well, that's like the whole gist of this video. Welcome to my channel. Hello, hi, welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time watching one of my videos. Welcome. Go ahead and subscribe. I wanted to make a video about how I kind of like get out of a rut, or just like not even a how-to video, just like kind of like comforting reminders, I suppose, that I try and remind myself when I'm feeling low and when I'm feeling like lonely or sad or lost, or just any of those more kind of like low feeling emotions. I feel like I've really just been feeling like honestly just like the ebbs and flows of life, and just feeling like up and then down, and then just like trying to give myself compassion through it all and not try and like attached to any specific emotion. I feel like I've definitely been falling into moments where I've been feeling like pity for myself, and just feeling like sorry for myself, feeling lonely, and just like all of these feelings that can sort of like get you into a hole sometimes. And I feel like all of the things I'm going to talk about in this video are things that I remind myself, and like things that help me move towards a more like positive space, basically. Yeah, just like things I remind myself when I'm in a rut that help me get out of the rut. I feel like one of the main things that I like to remind myself of when I'm feeling low, and usually when I'm feeling low, it's like feelings of loneliness or feelings of, I feel like sometimes we can feel quite isolated in our experience, and we feel maybe misunderstood or lonely, and feel as if people don't understand maybe, or feel like you're alone in your experience maybe. And I just feel like that is so not true. I feel like I've been realizing lately how connected people are in a way that's like, you're never, even if you feel like you're going through something that's like only you would ever understand, there's probably like other people have felt what you're feeling before, basically. And I feel like just like the human experience is so ubiquitous and like connected, and I think that we often forget that and like get so consumed in our own little worlds that we end up thinking like it's only me, I'm the only one feeling this, no one's gonna understand. And I feel like thinking in that mentality leads you down a path of like self-pity and like feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like, oh my god, why me, it's only me. Whereas if you think in a way that's like, this experience, this feeling, this negative feeling is experienced by everyone, or like a lot of people, and once you like widen your lens and remind yourself that it's a shared experience, it adds like a light to the darkness. And I feel like it helps you remember that it's not just you, and there's people out there that can empathize and like connect with you on whatever it is that you're feeling. Also, a big thing lately that I have like had this epiphany and just like suddenly realized is like, wow, the negative emotions and like negative feelings are literally just a part of life. And I feel like I've gone through like a phase where I sort of like opened myself up to love and connection, and then I guess I was afraid of that because I was afraid of maybe being rejected, or like scared of all of the other emotions that come along with feelings of love and connection. And I feel like once I fully like let myself realize that if you're going to feel love and connection and like all of these positive feelings, you're going to inherently open yourself up to feeling the more negative emotions. And that doesn't mean you should close yourself off from experiencing the good just in fear of feeling the bad. Does that make sense? I feel like you just have to understand that there's like a duality to everything, and everything has two sides, and you just have to be like welcoming of all of it and like not fear any of it. Because I feel like once you get into like a rut or like a bad place, and you're like greeted with all these negative emotions, if you sit in that place and you like give yourself the compassion to be in that place and not feel entirely consumed by it, then it's easier to move through life and not be afraid of those feelings. I feel like once you let go of the fear of a certain emotion and the fear of being in a certain mental state, it like opens you up to so much more possibility in life, because you're not afraid of being in that place, and you know it's not like, nothing's permanent, basically. I feel like it's just like a sense of acceptance and being aware of your emotions, but then being able to accept them for what they are, and not feeling any sort of like shame or guilt for feeling any specific thing. Just being like, yes, this is what I'm feeling. It is what it is. Feeling lonely, feeling like isolated, feeling sad, or feeling just like all of these like more low emotions. It's obviously not a pleasant thing. And it's like, you don't want to be sitting in that place for a long time, but I feel like you can be in that state but at the same time be gentle with yourself and understand that it's just like a temporary thing and it's not your entire existence, and like your emotions aren't a part of, like, they're not you. Does that make sense? Like, I think that it can become really unhelpful when you attach like an emotion to yourself and your identity and your worth. Like, it's not like, oh, my name's Cameron, I'm lonely, I'm sad. It's like, my name is Cameron and I experience all of these different feelings and all of these different emotions, and that's what makes me human. I always just try and remind myself of just like how literally life is just like this. Like, everything moves in waves, everything has like peaks and troughs, and like sometimes when you're down in the depths, in the ruts, you can't really see how good things are going to be when you get up to that other state of like positivity and like good experiences. But I feel like you just have to trust and like have faith in yourself and believe in yourself that like good things are ahead. It's like the blind belief, like the delusion that good things are ahead. And I would also like to look back on my past and think like, okay, I've been like not mentally like amazing before, and I've gotten out of it, and I've had amazing experiences after that, things that I never knew that I was going to experience in that moment when I was feeling low. So I always like to refer back to like my past self and be like, she got through it, like we can get through this. It's not the end of the world, like it's not the end of everything, it's going to be okay. And in the future I'm going to be able to experience things and feel amazing feelings that I've never felt before and things that I've never experienced before. Yeah, I feel like it's just like the delusional belief and like the delusional optimism that good things are ahead. I also think that being mindful of your feelings is really helpful when you're feeling like in a low mental state, and just to, like I was saying, like accept how you're feeling and like name how you're feeling. Like think to yourself, or like journal, or sometimes I like to voice note to just like get it off my chest and be like, how am I feeling? Like, how am I really feeling? And sometimes I find it is quite hard to like put a label on exactly how you're feeling, because I think that emotions and our feelings are so multi-layered and like it's not one-dimensional. But I think that once you just like speak or write and just like get in the habit of like really like vocalizing and expressing how you're feeling, it makes it so much more easy to become aware of your feelings. And once you're aware of your feelings, I feel like they're less heavy once you can identify them. Because I feel like in the past I've had moments where I've been like really emotional and like feeling a lot of things, but I didn't know what I was feeling. And I think that when you don't know what you're feeling, that makes the whole experience 10 times more overwhelming. So I definitely think just getting comfortable with like sitting with yourself and saying like, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? And learning to like actually name those emotions. I also think that you don't have to use like one word to describe how you're feeling. It's not like I'm feeling happy, I'm overwhelmed, I'm sad, I'm lonely, because sometimes we can feel all different things at the same time, and that's just like the complexity of it and like why it can be so overwhelming sometimes, I think. Also like looking at like a feelings wheel and like trying to like pinpoint, maybe it's like a combination of feelings, but I think that just having all of that, like that tool, that's a really useful tool, just to like be like, how am I feeling? And just like looking at all of the different words, because I think that sometimes we can get in the habit of labeling emotions very, very like shallowly, saying like, oh, I'm happy, or I'm sad, or I'm angry, but like within that there's so many other emotions that you could be feeling. I just think that once you recognize what it is that you're feeling, it's then easier to like meet yourself with empathy and compassion. And I also think that is really important, like being able to have empathy for yourself and compassion for yourself. Say that someone that you love came to you and said that they're feeling really low and really lonely, really isolated. They're just like not feeling like fulfilled and connected in their life. I would think that you would greet that person with like a certain degree of empathy and compassion for them. And I feel like we just have to give ourselves that same level of empathy and compassion that we would give someone that we love, because it's us. Like, we should love ourselves, you know? I think that if you haven't practiced throughout your life, like being aware of your emotions and being in tune with how you're feeling, it can be like a kind of like hazy space to enter, being like, oh damn, like how do I feel? I think that if you haven't practiced that, it can be a hard thing to enter. So I would say just like journaling is really helpful, and genuinely just like asking yourself, like, how do I feel? Looking at like a feelings wheel, or maybe asking yourself why you feel a certain way, if there's anything that's like contributed to it. And yeah, and just trying to like get to the source of things. I think that once you can notice where something's coming from, like in the root, it can be so much more easier to address in the present moment. And whilst I think it's really important to like feel your feelings and like be aware of how you're feeling and like be able to like sit with how you're feeling and be comfortable with the discomfort, I suppose. I think that it's important at the same time not to like wallow in self-pity for too long, because I think, especially, let's say again with my example of feeling lonely, I think that if you're feeling lonely and then you get into a state of like self-pity and feeling really sorry for yourself. And when I say self-pity, I mean sort of like centering yourself in your problems and feeling like you're entirely consumed by them and feeling like people don't understand and you're alone in your experience, and like thinking thoughts like, why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? Why does nothing go right for me? See how those questions are all like reflected back to yourself. It's like, why me? And it's all like centered around yourself. I feel like feeling self-pity is like unavoidable when you're in a rut and you're feeling like shitty about yourself or whatever. But I think that if you stay in that place for too long, it can like worsen what you're feeling and make you feel more isolated and make you feel more alone, because you're kind of like shutting, I feel like when you feel self-pity, you're kind of like shutting everyone else out and like feeling things just like it's very like insular and very isolated. I feel like it can make feelings of like loneliness and sadness even worse. But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of important to feel that for like a little amount of time, a small amount of time, so you can really recognize like the depth of what you're feeling. Thinking back to myself, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I was feeling really lonely and definitely fell into a pit of self-pity for a bit there. And I remember I was just like so upset, just like crying and just like I was feeling things like people don't understand, why me, like why am I feeling like this? And in that moment, you know, when you kind of like have a bit of a breakdown and you're like, shit girl, like that was a bit dramatic, like not dramatic, but like I was just like, whoa, I'm really hurting. Like it made me have that like sudden realization of like, wow, it really is that deep. Like I didn't realize it was that deep, but it really is that deep. And then from there, I kind of like dragged myself out of the self-pity, because I was like, we cannot be sitting here in this slump just like crying and feeling sorry for ourselves. I was feeling so shit, and I was just like, we can't live like this for like, we've done this for like a few days now. And then it just got to a point where I was like, not that I was like forcing myself to not be sad, but I just sort of like reached that like bottom point, and I was like, I think that the only way out is through and up now. Like I've been through it and now I'm trying to come out, you know what I mean? Like those days of like feeling lonely and feeling sad, that was like me going through it. And I think that you have to go through it in order to come out of it. Like if you try and just go straight up, you're just avoiding how you're feeling, and those feelings aren't going to go away. They're still there. So I think that you definitely have to like work through things, which is, yeah, like recognizing what it is that you're feeling, having that moment of self-pity, but not like wallowing and staying in it forever. This is future editing Cameron, but I just wanted to add something here and say that there's no like set amount of time to how long it takes to get over something, or how long you should be stuck in a rut for. Like there's no set amount of time that it takes to heal, and don't feel like pressured to be like, okay, it's been a few days, I need to snap out of this, because everything is variable depending on the context and the situation. Yeah. I think that when you're feeling that self-pity and that like sorry for yourself, which I think, again, it's like, I think it's unavoidable to some degree, but I think that it's really helpful when you feel like that to not feel like shame or like not like then like judge yourself for feeling a certain way. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that sometimes maybe we can get to that point and we end up thinking to ourselves like, oh, like now look at you, like you just start to have this like negative self-talk towards yourself, which is like the opposite of self-compassion. I think that self-compassion in that moment would be like, shit, I'm really hurting right now. When you're in that messy state, just like being compassionate with yourself and being like, shit, like I'm really hurting right now, and that's okay, and that's completely human, and this is completely normal, and there shouldn't be any feelings of like shame or guilt or like criticism or judgment on yourself, because that just takes you further down into the depths, and we don't want to be going down further down into the depths. yeah, and I think, like I said before, just not holding any emotion as a part of your worth or your identity is really important. I think I always like to think that I think of the sky, and like say that you're just lying down on a sunny day looking at the clouds moving. They're moving really slowly, but they're moving. And then you look at the clouds, and they're like in some kind of like cloud formation, and you close your eyes for 10 minutes, and then you open your eyes back up again, and the clouds have completely moved into a new formation. That's how I like to think of emotions. Like, we feel things and they seem very permanent in the moment, but they're not, and it's all temporary, and it all flows. You're the sky, and everything else is the weather. So everything else is moving and flowing, and you are you, and your emotions are just passing by. They're visitors. They're really just visitors. They're just coming to say hi, and we just have to greet them, negative or positive. We greet them all with the same compassion and the same empathy and the same kindness. We say hello, welcome to my home. Stay a while, but you're gonna leave soon, you know? It definitely feels just like a lot more comforting when you are gentle with yourself, and when you have compassion with yourself, and when you can say, I'm feeling really lonely right now, I'm feeling really sad, I'm feeling really lost, and that's okay, and I don't need to have all the answers right now, and I'm going to move through this, and brighter things are going to be on the other side, and this is not who I am, this is not my identity, this is not my worth, and yeah, this is going to pass, basically. And then I also think that perspective, I think I talk about perspective quite a lot, but I think it's so important that you can have perspective when you're in a rut, let's say, because when you have the ability to have perspective, kind of like how I was saying before, how like when you're like down in this depth and this pit here, you need to have the perspective to be able to see that there's sun and brightness and green grass on the top of this hill up here, and you might not be able to see it because you're stuck down here, but it's having perspective that like just being able to see all of the hills and valleys of your life, and being able to see, okay, like this is me right now, but I have the perspective and the ability to see that this is not my forever. And just like embracing the unknown of the future, I feel like sometimes the unknown can be seen as this kind of like fearful thing, like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen, it's so scary. But I think that the unknown is exciting because there's so much possibility. Like, what if everything worked out better than you envision now? Like, what if your life turned for the better and something amazing happens? Like, I think that you just have to try and think on like the more like glass half full side of things, because it just makes life a much more pleasurable experience. Whenever I'm feeling low, I like to think to myself, like, I just think of the future, and I get kind of like delusional. And I think I'm just quite like a delusional, imaginary, like dreamy person in general, maybe because I'm a Pisces, I don't know. But like just being able to sit there and be like, oh my God, like life is going to be amazing, and I'm going to be like meet so many people and like feel so many things and see so many things, experience so many things, see so many new places. And just like thinking about that really excites me genuinely. Like I'll be able to I'll sit there and think like, wow, just life is going to be so good. And I genuinely believe that with all of my heart, that just the good things are ahead. And I just think that it's so exciting, the future. I just genuinely am very, very excited by the future, and just all of the unknown and the possibility and the everything that comes with it. In saying that there's so much positivity to experience, you also have to be like aware and like okay with all of the negative things that are going to come with that, all of the sad feelings, all of the loneliness, the rejection, the heartbreak, all of that is all a part of the parcel, and like you can't have one without the other. It's all like part of the whole. It's definitely like something that I've realized lately that has like shifted my mind. I've been like, wow, like it seems like such a simple concept, but I think that sometimes when you have certain experiences, things like hit a lot harder, and you're like, whoa, that's so true. Like you really can't have the good without the bad. Seems so simple, but I really, really realize that now. I feel like I can really feel myself when I start to come out of a rut. Like, you know, when you just don't feel like yourself, you feel off, and then all of a sudden you start to feel like lighter, and just like everything feels so much less heavy. Like it's such a beautiful feeling. I can't quite describe it, but like when I start to feel myself like exiting out of the rut, seeing the light on the other side, I like to shift back to like what I'm grateful for in my life, and like just being really heavy on gratitude. I think that sometimes when I'm in a rut, I feel like I can't do this properly because I don't know, maybe it's a self-pity, I don't know, but I just like I'll know that I'm grateful for things, but it doesn't hit the same as when I'm feeling more like positive and lighter. I think that when I'm like feeling sad and heavy, it's like I can't quite grasp the positivity and the little things in life as much as I can when I'm in a good state of mind. I don't know, I think that if you're in, let's say you're in a rut and you're like forcing yourself to like see the beauty in everything and like notice all the little things and like every day is amazing, like there's so much to be grateful for, that's just like forcing yourself into feeling positive, but it's like a toxic positivity thing, I think. Like I think that sometimes it's okay just to be like, I'm feeling like shit, and no, I can't see the beauty in that today, and that's okay, because you're gonna come out of that space and then be able to see the light on the end of the tunnel. And yeah, it's just like this balance, this like constant balance of like feeling good, feeling shit. But yeah, I feel like I end every single one of these talking videos by saying that like everything's a process and everything takes time, basically. Like there's no quick fix to anything and no quick remedy to feeling like when you're in a negative space. That's why I said I think that this video is not like how to get out of a rut. It's like reminders and like, you know, just comforting thoughts, and yeah, just like being able to have compassion for yourself, I think is like kind of the main gist of what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I feel so good at the moment. From like 2 days ago, I've started feeling like myself again. I feel like I had 2 weeks of just like a lot of low with like small peaks of like bliss, but most of it was low, whereas now I feel like I'm back like up in this wavelength, which feels really nice. But it's all about empathy and compassion and being kind to yourself and not forcing yourself into a place of positivity when you're not feeling like it basically. But yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it's been maybe helpful in some way, or just like given you more of a open mind, or like just made you feel like giving yourself more compassion and being more gentle with yourself, because I think that's such an important part of life. But yeah, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Please subscribe to my channel. Help me grow, help me thrive, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.